Well, I'm back again this evening. And I'm going to tell you one other story. And this is another one of those just strange encounters. I don't consider when I got born again, it was such a wild experience. And I'll share that another day and another time. So I ran into this God who made himself known to me, and he was real. I mean, I expected him. I remember first time I read out of John, I think about John, I want to say 16, but I think where Jesus said, "And he shall show you things to come, and he shall speak to you," speaking of the Holy Spirit. I expected God to just speak to me whenever I asked him a question, and he did. And sometimes he just said things, I mean, he said things to me, and I have laughed. I just laughed, and this was one of those moments. So I was in the military and I was back visiting, and I was visiting a church that ran about 1,500 people on Wednesday nights. And this was probably about 1983, 4, sometime in that period. And I was in the military and I was home on leave. So we go to this church, and after the church service, I'm standing there with my friend, and she's visiting with someone. And the Lord speaks to me and he says, "Find the lady who used to clean your house when you were 14 and tell her this." I'm 20. I'm probably 20 years old now. Yeah, I'm at least 20. I haven't seen this woman in 5 years. I don't even know if she goes to this church. I don't even know her name. I don't remember what she looked like. I can tell you what her car looked like. It was a really cool green Javelin. Anyway, I laughed. I remember laughing. And about that time, I kind of turned. And all the way across the auditorium, in the midst of just this ocean of people that were leaving, I see this woman. And if I wouldn't have been looking for her, I would have never recognized her. But it was almost, there wasn't a light on her, but I mean, it was like, boom, I just saw her. So I just tapped my friend and I said, "I'll be back." I wouldn't even take my eyes off of her. I started just moving through people and moving down the aisles. And I got over to her. She's standing there visiting with someone. And I said, "Hey," I said, "is your name Terry or Teresa or something like that?" And I think she said, "Yeah, my name's Terry." And I said, did you used to clean our house over in Vandalia?" And I'm kind of poking because I want to make sure this is the right person. And she said, "Yeah." Well, no, she didn't say yes. She said, "What was your mother's name?" I said, "It's Barbara." She goes, "Oh, yeah, I remember I used to clean your house." And I said, "It's going to sound really weird." And I'm just no emotion in saying these things to her. If I get a little emotional, I apologize, but I'm going to try not to. And I said, "Hey," I said, "I suspect that you used to walk through our house and dust our furniture off and dust our pictures off, and you would pray over our pictures. You would pray over our furniture." She's sitting there just nodding. "And then you'd make our beds and you'd pray over our beds, and you probably prayed over our laundry and prayed over our dishes when you washed them." I said, "I suspect you just would go through our house and just pray over our whole house and everything and us." And she's sitting there just kind of nodding. And I said, "Well," I said, "I need to tell you something." I said, "I was born again in my house, nobody testifying to me, nobody speaking to me." I said, "But God came and made himself known to me in a way that you cannot deny what happened." And then I said this to her. I said, "It was because you prayed over us and you prayed for me." And I said, "I stand here today, born again, spirit filled, chasing after him. I am the fruit of your labor." And she lost it. She started bawling. And I'm just sitting there going, okay, what do I do now? So I just stood there for a minute, kind of gained her composure, and I'm wanting to understand what's going on. And she said, I've been cleaning this little church over on Ninth Street. See, I clean it every Sunday. She said this since this last Sunday. So I cleaned it. Then I stayed and I fasted and I prayed. So I didn't go to work Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. She said, I've been in that church all day Monday, all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, and it's a Wednesday evening service. And she said, I've been praying and I've been fasting. And then she said this. She said, I've been crying out to the Lord, saying, I've been cleaning houses for 10 years. She said, I've never led anyone to the Lord. I've never laid hands on anybody. I've never seen anybody healed. She said, am I supposed to be doing this? She said, I see no fruit, Lord. And up I walk and I say, I am the fruit of your labor. And I think when we get to heaven, we think it's all the big name people that are going to receive great rewards. No, it's going to be the moms. It's going to be the men who got on their knees and sought God and sought his face. It's going to be the women like her that went into houses and prayed and prayed and prayed. And what blew me away was that God would use me in that moment to just speak to this child of his and say, oh, you have fruit. You have fruit that you don't even know of. And I don't know if she's still cleaning houses, but if you're out there, Terry, I'm praying for you still. I think about you often. And I know that you have plenty of fruit for your labor. So when you think about doing things, think about praying. Think about praying for your neighbor, praying for your kids, praying for your wife, praying for your kids' friends, praying for our nation, praying for our leaders, praying for our church leaders. Because God can do and God can speak in one moment, one word, what we couldn't accomplish in 1,000 years and 10,000 lectures, 10,000 things to try to persuade someone. Have a great day.